Right, so this is a video related to multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1000. So success criteria for this is dead simple. It's two questions. One, bigger or smaller? Two, how many places? And I'll show you how this relates. So number one, bigger or smaller than how many places? And we'll look at a couple of questions and see how it goes. So 6.7 times 10. First question. So I asked myself question one, bigger or smaller? And you look at what you're doing. If you're multiplying, then it's going to get bigger. If you're dividing, then it's going to get smaller. So I'm multiplying, so it's going to get bigger. And then by how many places is by how many zeros there are and what you're multiplying by. So here in the 10 there's only one zero, so it's going to get bigger by one space. And I'll show you how this relates to the question. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in, write 6.7 below here. Then I'm going to add the place value columns. So 6 units at decimal place to the tenths. And I'm just going to add one either side because there's one space. So tenths at hundreds, and then here there'll be tens. So I know that it's going to get bigger. So that means everything is going to move up this way and get bigger by one place. So everything stays together and moves up the place value column by one space. So the 6 moves up one place and ends up under there. The 7 moves up from the tenths to the units and it goes to there. Now we've moved all the numbers and we made them bigger by one space. So my new answer is 67. So 6.7 times 10 would be 67. Now let's do it. 6.7 divided by 10. So same two questions, bigger or smaller? So we're dividing this time, so it's going to get smaller. And again, by how many places? So it's got one zero, so it's going to get smaller by one space. So write 6.7 and then write your values. Now because we've got one space that's going to move by, we'll do one space either side, extra place values, so tenths, hundreds, and then tens here, because just to make sure. So smaller by one space, everything stays all together. We're going to move it down one space. So the 7 moves down to the hundreds, and the 6 moves down to the tenths. And then all we do to finish off the question is we need to make sure we've got our decimal point, and then to make sure the decimal point doesn't run away, add our 0. So the answer to 6.7 divided by 10 is 0.67. Okay, let's try it with another question. So 0.32 times 100. So bigger or smaller? It's going to be bigger. How many places? It's got 2 zeros in 100, so it's spaced by 2, bigger by 2. So we'll keep that in mind. So we'll write our 0.32. We've got our units, decimal point, tenths, hundreds, and then tens and hundreds, because it's going to get bigger by 2. So we need to make sure we've got enough room to move everything up. So 0 is going to move up 2 places. So it's going to move up 1, 2. So put the 0 in. The 3 is going to move up 2 places. So 1, 2. Put the 3 in. The 2 is going to move up 2 places. 1, 2. So put the 2 in. And as you can see, we've got 3 tens and 2 units. So my answer would be 32. Now 863 divided by 100. So bigger or smaller? So we know smaller. How many places? It's got 2 zeros, so smaller by 2. So write 863. So we've got our hundreds, tens, units. We know it's getting smaller, so I'll need to write in 2 extra places below here. Tenths and hundreds. Okay, so everything stays together and we move it down the 2. So the 3 moves down 2. So 1, 2. So 3 will end up here. The 6 moves down 2. 1, 2. And the 8 moves down 2. So 1, 2. So 8 is there. So we've got 8 units, decimal point, 6 tenths 300, so it's 8.63. Okay. Now, one's for you to have a go at. Exactly the same things. Two questions you ask yourself. So bigger or smaller, how many places? So to multiply 0.32 times 1,000. So it's multiply, so it's bigger. How many spaces? It's got 3 zeros, so it's bigger by 3. Okay. So write my 0.32. I've got my units, decimal point, tenths, hundreds. Now it's getting bigger, so I'll need to add 3 places up this way. So tens, hundreds, and thousands. Okay, so now all I do is move everything up 3 places. So the 0 moves up 3. 1, 2, 3. So it will be under the thousands. The 3 moves up 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's under the hundreds. The 2 moves up 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's under the tens. Now we've got a gap where the units are, so we need to put a gap in. And we don't need this 0 anymore because it's not worth anything. So the answer is 320. Now, one final one. 37 divided by 1,000. This one, I want you to have a go at yourself. See if you can do it. And pause the video. I'm going to go do it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so again, ask myself bigger or smaller. So it's a divide, so it's smaller. By how many places? I've got 3 zeros, so it's smaller by 3. So write my 37. Got my tens, my units, and it's getting smaller, so I need to just add my 3 extra place values, so tens, hundreds, thousands. And now everything is going to move down those 3 places. So 7 moves down 3. Remember, it all stays together. No numbers get added in, they all must be beside each other. So 7 moves down 3. 1, 2, 3. So my 7 moves to there. 3 moves down 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 is here. Now there's a gap in the tenths which I need to put a 0 in. There's a decimal point, and then in the units, just to keep the decimal from running away, I put the 0. So my answer to 37 divided by 1,000 is 0.037.